Thank you all for joining. We'll get started in just a moment.
Okay, well, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Brian Talbot, AIAA SVP for Sales, Marketing, and Communications, and I'm really excited to talk to you on a special behind-the-scenes conversation on the new era of Aerospace America that's going to be defined by sharper storytelling, deeper insight, and a digital-first approach that's reaching more people than ever before. So as many of you know, Aerospace America relaunched in April 2025 with a brand new website. And in July, we were thrilled to welcome our new Editor-in-Chief, Marjorie Censer, who is going to be joining us today to talk a lot more about the magazine and the online presence. Marjorie is a proven aerospace defense journalist at Defense News, Inside Defense, Washington Post, Bloomberg, and Politico. And we are so ecstatic to have her on the AIAA and Aerospace America team. Since she's joined, the magazine has undergone one of the most energizing transformations in its 40-year history. We've seen 2 times growth in online readership, and we've actually expanded the distribution of the print magazine, which is now being distributed all over the place in places like Capitol Hill, across federal labs, and really across the entire AIAA network in the US and beyond. We've also doubled the number of stories, broadened the voices represented, and expanded into some really exciting new formats that really talk to the modern aerospace community where they are. So we're leveraging social, we're leveraging mobile, and we're using across all content streams. It's really a lot more than about the magazine. It's a whole gateway into the AIAA knowledge ecosystem, and we're thrilled to be able to share with you more about that. Under Marjorie's leadership, we're taking a digital-first strategy, delivering daily reporting, integrating video, a completely renewed emphasis on credible journalism that is timely and highly relevant to key leaders in air, space, and defense. So I want to talk to you a little bit with Marjorie and let her share her editorial vision, what she and her team are looking for in great stories, what's resonating with readers so far, and really what's coming next. And all of this is really, we're trying to build AIAA as the world's most trusted source for knowledge, insight, and community, and Aerospace America is the front door to that. So from an editorial direction to multimedia expansion, to how we're servicing our members, this is your chance to hear directly from the person leading this new chapter. And from a housekeeping perspective, there's going to be Q&A at the end of the session. So during the session, if you want to just put any questions you have in chat, we will take the time after that. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'm going to hand it over to Marjorie. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Brian. Let me get my slides back. All right. Thank you so much for that kind intro. I appreciate it. So I'm really excited to just give a short presentation today on what we're doing at Aerospace America so far and kind of that path forward that Brian hinted at. But I really want to save a lot of time to take questions. I'm happy to address any question you might have. So feel free to hit me with what you got. But I'll start by just talking a little bit about where we are so far and kind of the path forward for Aerospace America. So let's get going. So a little bit about me. I won't bore you by reading through my background, which Brian kind of hinted at, but suffice to say, I have a long background in defense reporting and editing. And really what drew me to Aerospace America was this opportunity to shift to this digital first approach. And so I'm really excited to be here, to be leading this great team that has made a name for itself with really thorough, comprehensive, accurate reporting and seeing where we can go next to build that digital approach, to build our website, and to further establish the magazine. So it's been a great 4 months so far, and I'm really looking forward to more. But it's not just me. We have a team, and I just wanted to kind of give a brief introduction to the people that are on our staff. Kat Hofacker has been with the magazine since 2019 and is just a really integral part of the work we do. If you have interacted with Aerospace America in the past, you've probably interacted with Kat, and she takes really the lead on the magazine itself, the work of putting together the publication, but also is a really critical part of our online work and our managing our staff and coming up with ideas. So joined in 2019 as a reporter, became associate editor in 2021, and has just been a really integral part of our team. Paul Brinkman is based in Florida, and he covers advanced air mobility for us and is also taking on a lot more coverage of space for us these days, which, as you might imagine, being in Florida is a great place to be for that. And he joined us in 2022, so has been with us for several years and really has a great grip on the advanced air mobility, electric air taxi beat, and is growing his sources and space, which he has a really deep background covering in previous roles. So we're excited about his coverage there. And then I just wanted to give you a sample of the correspondents we work with. This is by no means comprehensive. We have a really impressive roster of reporters. And because we use these correspondents, we're really able to play to people's strengths. So there are certain reporters that know a lot about space, and we can use them for that. Others are experts on defense, and we really have a home for a lot of different kinds of reporters, but we're very proud of the team that we work with and the work that they do. I think that the coverage that we have is really differentiated from other publications you might find because of its focus on technology above all things, but also this aerospace kind of glue that cuts across, whether it be defense, commercial space, government space, or defense. So that, again, that's a sample, but not at all comprehensive. I want to spend a few minutes talking about what we cover, because I think aerospace is really broad, and then I want to give you a little more detail. So I listed these sort of big buckets that we think about, but I'll give you some examples. So in advanced air mobility, we're thinking about air taxis, the development and operations of these aircraft. That can include things like FAA regulations that relate to them. Can also include flight tests and other milestones. And like I said before, Paul is the primary reporter on that beat, but there are other reporters that we have that touch that one. Research and development, obviously a big bucket, but one that's really core to what we do. That can be, innovations across aviation, space, defense industries. Anything that's like a big technical leap forward is of a lot of interest to us. Sometimes that comes from companies. Sometimes we see that coming from academia or other labs. So again, there's a lot of ways that we can kind of find those stories, but they're of a lot of interest. Everything from new materials, designs, concept of operations, flight tests. There's a lot of things that can fall in that bucket. Defense modernization, that's a big one, and also one that's near and dear to my heart and my background. That includes things like the Defense Department's effort to leverage commercial technology, things we've seen like the Defense Innovation Unit or AFWorks. It also is emerging programs, the Collaborative Combat Aircraft Program, the new Bomber Program. It even, there was a story that we did recently on Lockheed Martin changing the way it spends its research dollars that could fall in that bucket, or it could fall in the R&D bucket. But those kinds of stories are of a lot of interest to us as well. The space economy, that's, I would say, covers a lot of emerging tech, things like commercial space stations, satellite mega constellations, and NASA's efforts to foster a LEO economy that doesn't hinge on government funding. And then planetary science and exploration. And I would say that would include Artemis, SpaceX's Mars ambition, Nancy Grace Roman Telescope, and much more. And I would note that we are in the process of hiring a reporter who will hopefully focus on the defense beats. And also I'd like to move us into covering more of Congress as it relates particularly to R&D funding. So that's going to be an area that we'd like to turn more attention soon. The path forward. So like I just mentioned, we are adding another staff reporter. The timing is great. Our listing is up. So if you know someone, send them our way. We have, as Brian said, moved to posting stories daily. That is a real effort on our part to, frankly, to walk and chew gum. I mean, we still have our really meaty issues of Aerospace America. These have very in-depth, thorough features. We want to do that, but we also want to be able to cover what's happening on Capitol Hill, or be able to cover, you know, one of the Defense Department's top generals talking about Golden Dome. We need to kind of do both, and we are getting there, but that is continuing to, that's just a priority that we're never gonna be done with. So as I said, that coverage of events and daily happenings, but we don't want to take away from these print issues, which in fact we've made larger, and we are getting to more people. And we still want to have our independence and our editorial integrity, and that is not something that I will be changing. Our progress has been great. It's been really nice to see that, you know, there's a response when you make a change. So we have moved from 11 print issues a year to 4 larger, meatier, better distributed issues. And that really has given us the time and space to focus on our website. And we are really seeing the traffic surge in response to posting more stories, which again, is a really positive sign that there's an appetite in the coverage that we're doing. AIAA offers its My Daily Launch newsletter, which features Aerospace America stories at the top. This is a really successful newsletter that we're thrilled to, you know, get to be a part of and get our stories out to those readers. The list is now almost 100,000 people, and 40% open rate, I think, shows that it's a critical resource for people to be able to see what's happening in aerospace, whether it be from Aerospace America or from other publications. So that's just a great newsletter that's helping us get the word out about the coverage that we're doing. So like I said, I'm not going to take up all the time because I want to hear your questions, and please give me your best questions, and I will do my best to answer them.
Okay, great. Well, I'll start with some of the ones that have come in so far, Marjorie. So
Sure.
I think is a really interesting one from an AIAA member who works at the intersection of flight and training, aerospace integration and safety. He's interested in how you envision future section editors helping Aerospace America bridge that path between rigorous technical content and accessible storytelling. So kind of what's your vision there, and if there are reoccurring sections or other editorial voices that you're looking to kind of cultivate.
So it sounds like the question is about how we kind of manage the different categories of aerospace, which is, you know, it's a bit of an imperfect science, right? We are a news-driven organization, so I don't want to say, you know, we have to have 5 space stories and 5 defense and 5 aviation. So we try to kind of figure out what's what. But then in terms of balancing, you know, the technical versus making it accessible, we've been doing that for a long time. I think where I want to be is I want it to be readable to all. I know the people who read Aerospace America are very smart, but just because you are an engineer in one area doesn't mean that you know as much about, you know, what's going on in defense or what's going on in commercial aviation or in space. So I do want our pieces to be accessible. We are writing for a technical audience. We know that, and we do not seek to dumb it down in any way, but we do seek to make it accessible. And honestly, I know that's sort of an unsatisfying answer, but it's sort of walking a tightrope and hoping that you can provide enough explanation that you know you can follow. I used to work in mainstream journalism, and they would say in mainstream journalism, you should write for an 8th grade reading level. And I've always thought for something like Aerospace America, we're writing for at least a 12th grade reading level, and probably more like in college. You know, we don't try to oversimplify things, but we do want this magazine to be accessible, that if you are, you know, specialist on air taxis, that you'll understand our story about Artemis, or you'll understand our story about what's happening at FAA. So a kind of an art, not a science, but we want it to be, we do think that's one of our differentiators, that we are willing to get technical and get into the technology.
So this one is relevant, but I think a little bit more from some of the types of companies that are trying to get their stories out. What's the best way to pitch stories to Aerospace America, and how do you kind of handle that process?
Yeah, you know, and that's a different answer than some places, because we have a lot of correspondence. You know, I would, at a lot of places I'd say pitch the reporter on your beat. If, you know, if you're not sure if we have a reporter on that beat, if you think that maybe a correspondent is a better fit, you can always pitch me. You can always pitch Kat. We are open to your ideas, and we may be able to assign someone on our staff or be able to assign a freelancer. So I'm happy to receive your pitches, and I'm happy to direct them where they need to go if I'm the wrong person. So feel free to pitch. And again, I think try to explain. I think one of the key pieces of advice I'd give anyone who wants to pitch is explain what's the news hook. You know, like that. One of the things that can be interesting is I know you may have a new piece of technology, or I know it may be used in some different way, but you need to tell me why now. And that's really critical in the work that we're doing.
There's some really great questions coming in, so give me a second as I try to.
That's great.
So this one's related. Let's see. So this is a good one. I appreciate the longer length, more technically complete articles that I'm seeing in Aerospace America. Is there a policy for more of these, less of these? I see the rest of the industry is going the other way to shorter snippets without much technical content. So kind of how do we get inside Marjorie's head here?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, we're trying to do both, which is its own challenge, but we want our magazine to really feel like, you know, something that you can sit down with and that you can really get a deeper story with. I think that what we're seeing is that there's two kinds of readers in the world now, and sometimes that's the same person, but there's, you know, I'm walking around all day and I'm looking at my phone and I just want to know what's going on. I might want a short, hey, Secretary Duffy said this, or the Lockheed Martin CEO said that. And then, you know, it's Saturday morning and I have some time and I want to sit down with a magazine. And I think Aerospace America can be both, to both kinds of readers, again, even if they're the same person on a different day and different schedule. And so, yeah, I mean, that's, I'm super glad to hear you like them. But we also are trying to do some of the shorter stuff too. So we really are trying to do both, because I personally strongly believe there's a place for both in the journalism ecosystem. And we know that there are really interesting, meaty, technical stories that appeal to our readers. And then we also know that there's some readers we have, and maybe some newer, younger, not to cast aspersions, but maybe some people who just want to get some headlines on their phone. So again, I appreciate the feedback, and we do want to do both of those things.
Yeah, and I love this question too, because I think there's, you know, it kind of plays to things that we're thinking about from the Aerospace America and the AIAA perspective, which is we've got these incredible resources. We've got ARC, we have 200,000 articles that are super technical, but how do we make people get to them in an easier way? And I think the answer is we want to think omni-channel. Like, we want to think social media, we want to think video, we want to think how we use Aerospace America as a front door to get to the depth, but also to kind of open up people up to different ways, whether they're a young person who's just starting out or whether there's someone who's further along in their career. So I think there's so many amazing things that we're starting to do, but it's really just the beginning there in terms of kind of learning from the audiences and adapting. So anyway, we're as you can tell, Marjorie and I are both kind of excited about that subject. And again, I think it's such an opportunity for AIAA to just make its unique mark. So this is another question that came up, and you know, noticing like at Ascend Aviation, there was a ton more coverage than most people have ever seen. Do you have a different philosophy on that, or what's your what can people expect to see coming out of events going forward?
Yeah, I think we should be doing, when we're in an event, I think we should be doing a lot of coverage. I think that, I mean, maybe this just from my background, I grew up, you know, covering trade shows, and there's a lot of stories there. When you get a lot of high-ranking executives and officials in a room, it's not always about covering the keynote talk, but it's also about finding other stories. You have a room full of sources. You have a lot of interesting stuff going on. So my philosophy is just go find some stories. Like, this is an opportunity, and that's what we're going to do at AIAA events and at other events. We're going to, you know, find interesting coverage to do. And I felt like, you know, at Ascenda Aviation, there were lots of interesting stories. It's been, I don't think anyone would disagree, it's been a very newsy year. And so that creates a lot of opportunities for journalists to go find stories. And that's what we're going to keep doing. And you can expect that from SciTech and Space Symposium and our aviation conference and any number of events that we attend. I always want to make the most of our opportunities when we're in a room full of experts.
Awesome. One question that's come up online is the print magazine and kind of there's the current state of the print magazine where we kind of moved from 11 to 4 issues a year. What does 5 years from now look like? Is the print going, are we ending the print? Is this going to be a consistent channel? How are we going to kind of approach that philosophy or the work product of what happens online versus what happens in print? And would love to hear your comment.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not in the business of predicting the future, so I'll try to avoid that. But from where I sit, having both is really good for what we do. It really gives a home for these meteor stories that we know people like and enjoy. And frankly, when you have a quarterly magazine, as a journalist, it puts a lot of pressure on you to produce even better stories, right? I want to find stories that don't have a month's worth of shelf life. I want them to have 3 months worth of shelf life. So, I mean, we were going back and forth on a story today, and it was sort of like, the bar is very high for these magazine stories. We really are putting a lot of effort in. I mean, we're not assigning them a month out, we're assigning them 3 months out or 4 months out. And we're putting in the work to produce this magazine that we hope will stay on your coffee table or your desk or wherever you keep it for 3 months, and that you'll consume it as it makes sense. So I have no desire to get rid of these. I think that they make us better and they push us to find really interesting stories. That being said, I also want to make our website stronger. I want to make our newsletters stronger and perhaps have more of them. I'd like to think about other ways that we can reach readers and get them interested in the coverage that we're doing. So I think these things can coexist. I know that they haven't always happily coexisted, but I think that at Aerospace America, they are really complementing each other. I mean, I've always told beat reporters might be covering a story really incrementally week after week. And then maybe you zoom out and you can see the bigger picture, and that's a magazine piece. Like, that is a good exercise to do. I think that you can kind of get lost in the day-to-day news if you never zoom out. And if you never zoom in, it's hard to kind of necessarily understand like how newsy individual moments can be. So again, I think these things are complementary. I think they go together, and I would love to keep it that way.
Awesome. Yeah, I totally think that is a great approach. And I know from the marketing team's perspective, we are really leaning into, all right, so it's a quarterly magazine. How do we now move it from just going to the same people who've received it, which obviously our members benefit greatly from the magazine, but there's a lot of other people who need to read Aerospace America, you know, so that's why we've expanded to the Capitol Hill mailings that are happening now. We're sending it out to all the federal labs. We're making sure that Aerospace America is everywhere, you know, so that's a big focus. So instead of it going to 20,000 people 11 times a year, it's going to be going to 60,000 people 4 times a year, and at every major event like Symposium or SciTech or Ascend, or you know, even some newer places, you're going to find Aerospace America. And I think that is going to be a benefit to the industry. I think it's going to be a benefit to Aerospace America, and it's going to be a benefit to our members as well. So, okay, next question. There's a lot of good ones here, so hold on for 1 second. Let's see. If someone's interested in actually working for Aerospace America. So if you were looking for a new voice or for someone to contribute, like what's something that they could be doing to prepare themselves to be an author for Aerospace America, whether that is like as a full-time employee or whether that's someone who wants to just be contributing to the.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing is I really need to be approaching it from a journalistic approach. We do have technical publications and we have ways for people to submit their technical papers. We really want to write Aerospace America as a journalism publication. So which means that it has to have, like I said, a news hook. You have to be able to sort of tell me the so what of this technical leap or finding. So those are really critical parts of writing a story that a journalist would include. If you are a journalist and I'm telling you stuff you already know, then I'm always open to potential new correspondence. I'm always open to, well, we have this job listing. If anybody is interested, that's available. But in terms of the correspondence, you can reach out to me. I'm open to people with interesting pitches and ideas, and we do not have a cap or a particular number. So yes, we are open to that.
This is an interesting one. So could you provide more insight into adjusting your strategy to daily storytelling from a tactical standpoint? How does this work?
From a tactical standpoint, it means we look more at what is happening that we need to cover. Are there events? Are there speakers? Are there a launch, for instance, that we want to be covering? So we think about it more as what's happening this week than, hey, what's happening this quarter? And then that's a big part of the reason that we need an additional reporter, because we need to have more people who are able to kind of pivot to whatever is the news of the week. So that's sort of the tactical part. And then we just balance that with the print publication that, like I said, we're thinking about that months in ahead. It's a little bit of a different pace. And so, yeah, it's sort of, like I said, a walk and chew gum where we're editing a story based on, a launch that didn't happen yesterday, but we're also thinking about, well, what's that big feature that's going to be worth reading even in March 2026, even though our publication next comes out in January 2026. So that's sort of the strategy. And I think, I hope that explains kind of the tactical approach too.
Great. Yeah, here's a great question, which is how would you like to partner more with industry companies? Like what opportunity areas do you see? Looking forward to partnering more with industry experts. So just curious to kind of your thought process.
Yeah. I mean, I think that we want to know what industry is doing. There are some, as simple as putting us on some of the lists that I don't think we're on, but also letting us know maybe what's going on behind the scenes. Are you working with a university on a particular technology? Can you let us into what's going on there? Can you, I think that a lot of companies become accustomed to talking about programs that are already far along, and we'd love to be. And I think that works for a lot of publications. We'd love you to keep us in mind if there are things you're working on that are perhaps in an earlier stage and we can know more about it. I mean, certainly, I'd love to say every time, you come to talk to us, can we have it first? Can we be exclusive? But, an editor can dream, but, we'd love to hear more about what you have going on earlier than I think a lot of companies, are necessarily used to putting out news. And and where we are, we'd really like to talk to the engineers and the scientists behind it, not just to the executive or the spokespeople. That can really help us get to the technical piece that our readers want to hear about.
Awesome. I'll just chime in, which is I think AIAA and Aerospace America just have this great opportunity because of the technical foundation that we have, that partnering with industry, we could do some really special things. I think we could do some things that most other publications can't do, and it comes from a place of technical credibility and authority. So I'm super excited. I think with the vision of Clay Mowry, he's really pushing us to be a leading organization and sees Aerospace America and our kind of social and content channels as a real opportunity for us to be partnering with the leaders. And really, like, it's the industry is shaping the future. We're kind of along for the ride in a lot of ways, and so we definitely want to leverage the full assets of AIAA, whether it's the magazine and pitching stories and obviously hitting that journalism filter, but then also the events as platforms and videos and other things as platforms. So we're super excited. I think we've got a great team on board, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. So great question. Another one that came up here was, so I've noticed this new section from the Institute. What's the difference between from the Institute and the magazine and the online Aerospace America? If you could give a little bit there.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have it online and we have it in print. The From the Institute section has a separate editor, and it really is the news from AIAA that we think that the editor has selected that members would like to know, and that's everything from an obituary of a AIAA fellow or member, that's upcoming events, that's awards, things that the Institute is overseeing, whereas the Aerospace America section is really editorially driven news that Kat and I specifically find compelling. So there is a divide there. We try to mark that in our magazine with From the Institute section has this kind of blue border on it, so you can see what's from the Institute and what's our editorial content, and then that's marked online as well.
Fantastic. All right, I'm still trying to organize from some of those great questions. Okay. There's some questions about the year in review, which is a special dedicated issue that usually comes out in December. And I know we've, under Kat's leadership, have been kind of working on how do we revise that, or how do we kind of take that approach? Can you give some insight into what we're doing without, don't give away everything, but if you can talk a little bit about the plan for year in review for this year, and your kind of engagements with the technical community, and how we are going to kind of make the most out of that release and others.
Yeah, so for anyone on the call who doesn't know about year in review, it's kind of a year-end wrap-up that's written by the roughly 80 AIAA technical committees about the big milestones or leap aheads in technical milestones in their area. And I mean, these are really thorough, as you might imagine, with 80 some different areas of focus. And this, AIAA is really lucky to have this very, very passionate technical community that backs it. So historically, that's when in the December issue. We do not have a December issue anymore, so we are moving it online, and we are working with our developers to create a really nice, organized, clean, just aesthetically pleasing way to present it. And we are also including a page dedicated to it in our January magazine, so that everyone will be able to follow the QR code and find it and spend as much time with it as they want. So we're excited about this approach. I think that we do see a lot of interest in year in review, and we don't want to take away from that. So we are trying to present it in a way that people can read now, but also they can use as a reference. It'll live online, and it'll be easily accessible, and you can compare 2025's year in review to 2024's and going forward. So I think that it's going to work out. It'll be a little bit of a change for some people, but I think it's going to be overall a nice way to have it in a way that's really accessible online. And it'll go online that first full week of January, which is the week before SciTech. And so it's kind of fitting that, we'll have all this technical work going online almost simultaneously with our big technical event.
Awesome. Yeah, and a couple of things I wanted to add there. One, we really appreciate, like, the technical community started brainstorming with us back in, I want to say it was March or April, and we've had a few different sessions with them. Kat kind of has led that with Angie Lander at the time, and Leslie Whites, and just really bringing that group together. And we really appreciate both the input, but also the collaboration and kind of brainstorming to be like, how do we make the most out of this? So I think people are going to be happy when they see the new product come out. And then on the other side of our team, we're really pushing on the marketing side. So how do we make the most out of this when we launch it and get it out there in SciTech? So hopefully you see some really creative things in early January. And if there's other things we can do, please, you can email me or others if you've got ideas on how we make this, really exciting, because I think the content is going to be really fantastic. And hopefully online, it gives an opportunity for it to, again, expand beyond the people that typically read our stuff. So
Right.
we find that Year in Review actually has a lot more legs as a digital artifact that can be amplified a lot more. So, okay, let's see. I know we're running pretty long here, so I want to be respectful of people's time. Let's see. When we kind of addressed that. Here's one question about video was, to our points on video, how can the community plan to contribute to our goals related to video content in general?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that, I mean, candidly, I think our video strategy is still coming into focus. We know that as a digital first publication, we're going to be doing more with video, but some of that is still under consideration. If there are things that you want to work with us on, I mean, I think the theme that Brian and I both have is there's an open door. We'd love to hear from you if you're a reader, a member, a interested partner, happy to talk about things, but some of our video approaches we're going to be, I expect to be rolling out later next year.
Great. I thought this one was a good one, and I think this might come from a reporter too, so which is always fun. What two things make an opinion pitch that you don't hate?
Oh, wow. I will not hate an opinion pitch if it actually has an opinion. I think a lot of people write opinion pieces that don't actually say an opinion. They just sort of are a book report on what's happening. And I would also like it if it's something different. I don't want to use the word unique. It's hard to be unique in this world, but I think you need to be able to state something that we haven't already seen in print. And make sure it's your opinion. And then if I could add a third, maybe that's too many, but it needs to be like everything. It needs to be relevant. It needs to be timely and topical. We don't want pitches really ever that don't have a news hook, because we are a news organization.
Excellent. Okay, this one's interesting as well. So do you, what is, it's Aerospace America, but obviously we are in global aerospace economy. Do you cover aerospace news happening in other countries?
Yeah, that's a great question, because America is in the name, but we are in a global world now, and I don't think that, I mean, any of the companies, the programs, the technology we cover, they generally don't stay in our boundaries per se. So yeah, I think that I would like to do more international coverage. I think already it sort of comes naturally again, because a lot of the companies that we're writing about their work, they are already global companies, where if we're writing about a particular kind of technology, it probably has applications elsewhere, and that company or that academic institution or that researcher has already pursued that. So I think that just the world we live in, a lot of what we cover is international, and I'd like to do more of that. I think that it's kind of just the way the world is now.
Great. Well, I think we'll probably start moving to wrap up, because I know that people have a lot of other things. Really totally appreciate these great questions. Marjorie, thank you so much for your time and kind of taking us behind the scenes of Aerospace America. I know there's a lot of changes going on there, and it's, I mean, to be honest, it's just been amazing to partner with you over the last couple of months and see how much you've been able to accomplish in just a few months. And so I'm super excited about the year. As I think Marjorie said, with the technical community, we know that is the foundation of AIAA. So please, we want your inputs. We want to know what's going well, where we can see more. Really encourage people on the Institute side too. I mean, hopefully you can see that we are now working to take a lot of these stories that I think maybe were hidden at events or could only be appreciated by the people who were at events. And now we're taking them, the videos from the hub, the videos from the stage, we're making sure that gets out there a lot more. And those are things that we want to continue to do a lot of. So thank you guys for joining us. Have a wonderful rest of the day. And we'll look forward to working with you. And Marjorie, I don't know if you have any closing words that you'd like to say.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for all who joined and thank you for the smart questions. And again, Marjorie C at AIAA.org. I'm happy to talk offline or receive your pitches or your opinion pieces. So please be in touch, and thanks again.
All right. Thanks, everyone.